If you're an introvert starting to step into leadership roles and managing people, then this video is for you. I have been working with leaders of big organizations through my work in a consulting firm where I specialize in people consulting. And as part of that, we work on leadership development and we help coach very high profile people to step into their next level up role. I'm also an introvert myself. So personally, I have gone through the same journey of trying to understand how can I be a leader while also staying true to myself and not trying to seem extroverted for the sake of it. So in this video, I'll combine my professional experience with my personal one, and I'll talk about 5 key mistakes that I have made and I have seen very senior leaders many steps ahead of me make, and also what to do instead. And stay until the last one because that's the most difficult but also crucial skill to master as an introvert. Thing number 1 I've seen from myself, but also from some of the key senior people in the country. I'm based in the UK if you're new here, and the thing that I have seen a lot through my work, but also in myself, is the fact that us and introverts, we're so used to being craftspeople and we're not as used to being leaders in the workplace. And what that means in practice is probably you have been a doer and the person who is very good at the technical detail of what they do for a very long time. And when it comes to the next promotion, when it comes to starting to manage people and becoming a leader, the thing that I've seen happen again and again to people of literally all grades, from the most junior to the most senior, is that this technical detail consumes your time and you have no time left to strategy and people management. And those are the things that actually make that step up from someone who's just very good at their job and what they do to someone who is leading people and leading a team. And the reason why it's uncomfortable is because for us introverts, we love being in the technical detail because we're so attentive to things. We spot little things, we love nuance, we love depth. And probably over the years that led to you now starting to step into leadership, you have really perfected your craft, or at least you got very good at it and you pride yourself on your work and the quality of the work that you do. But being a leader is a completely different game. And I think that's the thing that holds a lot of people back, is that they fail to rearrange their time and their focus to be not just the doer, but also someone who is thinking strategy and thinking people, thinking morale and culture and everything in between. And those are very different roles, and they do require you to sacrifice a bit of that technical detail work to make space, headspace and time in your calendar to actually dedicate to all of those leadership things. And you would think that this is something that you should be learning in the first, promotion that you have in your workplace, or like the first time that you manage someone. But quite honestly, this is not taught. And that leads to me seeing people struggle with this literally into their 40s, 50s, and throughout their entire career, is the failure to delegate some of the technical work and really take on the responsibility to lead. So practically, what does this mean? The thing that a lot of the time helps is to do an audit of the time that you're spending at the moment. And there are a lot of different ways that you can divide your time into categories. But I think the key thing that we want to look at here is the leadership element and the technical element. And then if you want to get more granular, then you can look at what those leadership buckets divide into. It can be your own personal development and learning, and not forgetting that you still need to be doing continuous professional development and staying on top of things in your industry, because your time is probably completely stretched between meetings and people needing your time. So you need to actually create systems that allow you some space for yourself as a professional to get better, and not forget that you also need to be feeling like you're growing in your role, not just supporting others to grow. So there's that professional development aspect. There's also the aspect of people and having a good system for making sure that you're a good manager. And management of someone and of a team requires you to be very thoughtful about the time that you dedicate to checking in with people, to having the mental capacity and time capacity to actually support them if there is a crisis, to also be mentoring them and making sure that they are developing in their careers just the way that you want to be developing in yours. All of that needs time and also careful management of your capacity, because if you're a person who's managing a team of, say, 8 or 9 people, it can start to become really, really tough to be available to the extent that people need you. So what you might want to think about is also the org chart that you're functioning in. Do you need someone in between yourself and the team who can be stepping into that middle role and start managing people and start developing management skills for themselves, where you can be managing them and they can be managing people under them? It's a lot of complexity that goes into this, because there's no easy way to just rejig the team. It often takes a very long time and a long HR process, unless you're maybe in a startup where things can move a bit more quickly. But it's worth giving it thought, because the thing you don't want to do is be available for everyone else and burn out, and then that's where the leadership stops, because you will not be able to function at your best. And then the other bucket that I would personally distinguish is strategy and thinking about the bigger picture, because that's another thing that a lot of people fall into. Is thinking in the detail. We're so comfortable with the technical detail and we want to be involved in every single thing that's happening. I know that I'm like that because I really enjoy attention to detail. But the thing that you need to start doing as a leader is actually making time to step back and not ignore the detail, but soften your focus. You know, when you're staring in the same spot for a little while and then your focus just starts to soften and you see the pattern, you see the bigger picture a bit better. And that's what you need to be doing as a leader. It's stepping back and looking at, oh, what direction are we going in as a team, as a company? What thoughts do I have about that? Is there anything I can contribute to the strategic direction, to where we are prioritizing resources, time, attention? All of those things are what will distinguish you from being a very good people manager to being a very good leader, because leaders don't just do the operations, they don't just do the upkeep of the functioning of the team. They actually actively steer the company as well. And you might think that this is something that's reserved to the CEO or CEO -1 level, but really what can propel your career a lot is if you start thinking about that as early as you can. And there's no such thing as thinking about it too early. It shows confidence and it shows proactivity and it shows leadership skills. So you need to actively have the time to do that. The thing that happens a lot is everything else gets prioritized before the leadership things get prioritized. It requires you to be so ruthless with your time and to sometimes say no to things or think about how to delegate it and trust your team to do it. But all of this is to say that time audit, to see where you're spending your time right now, and what you might realize might be quite confronting, because you could be seeing that you're spending probably 99% of the time in the technical detail, in the craftsmanship of your work, and you're spending 1% across the leadership buckets. But it's very useful to know that if you feel like you're really lacking in the time there, you need to actively look at the other bucket, see where all that time is going. Are there any pointless meetings? Are there things you could delegate? Are there things where you're gripping on too tight and micromanaging because you want to know all the detail, but actually it might be in the best interest of you and your team to let go of that control a little bit and have someone step up to handle that for you? You need to be picking the bits that you can let go of so that you can switch that time from being on this side to the other side and protect it at all costs. There's such a thing as emergency cutoff. So if your team is in a crisis and your company is at risk, something went terribly wrong, of course you won't be saying that, no, guys, I can't dedicate my time to this because I'm having my CPD time at the moment. No, you probably need to attend to that. And there's such a thing as having an element of flexibility in how you divide your time, which is essential as a leader because firefighting is part of the job. But you need to know what is the threshold. And below that threshold, your team needs to be able to handle the crisis that is happening. And it's not a black and white picture. So as with anything, it might be the case that there's some, gray zone areas or you're not sure. Ease into it. Stay on the cautious side. And if there are some things that are a bit more like just a regular mini problems, see if you can let your team handle it. That will help you to also feel a bit more at ease next time something happens. And gradually you can increase the threshold of where that cutoff is for you, where you need to drop everything and attend to it. But it's important to have one, because otherwise your boundaries will just cease to exist and everything will blur, and it's a slippery slope from saying that, oh yeah, I'll have Friday afternoon for my professional development and strategy, and then something always comes up. Things will come up all the time. So you need to know which ones are worth dropping things for and which ones are not. Thing number 2 for introverted leaders and people who want to step into a leadership role is don't rush to be perceived as confident. Both in my consulting job, but also in my creative side of the career, the thing that I have learned, which actually comes from choreological studies and choreography. If you're new to this channel, then my corporate side of my life is in consulting, but my creative side is in dance and creative industries. The thing that really changed the way that I think about choreographing, but also about existing in the world, is one of my teachers saying that when you're trying to create a piece and when you're trying to portray an emotion, a storyline, or a feeling, the thing you need to remember is that the way it feels for you as a performer might be very different to how it is perceived by the audience. If you're really out of breath and you're trying to portray exhaustion or a feeling of desperation, you might be truly, genuinely feeling it inside your body when you perform it the way you're trying to do it. But as an audience member, that's not necessarily how it's going to come across. And it was really groundbreaking for me because it made me think of all the times where I felt very calm and very confident, and then someone would come up to me concerned, thinking, oh my God, is she okay? She's so quiet. And they would ask, are you feeling all right? And I was so taken aback by that because I was thinking, oh, am I looking insecure? And that really sent me into a bit of a spiral, being like, oh my God, I am giving off insecurity. I'm giving off whatever, incompetence. The thing I'm starting to realize is that we as introverts are naturally way more quiet, and I am like that, but that in no way correlates with how I'm feeling inside and how confident I am. It does maybe to a small extent, but I sometimes am feeling very good inside, very confident, very calm, but I might just be observing, or I might be listening, or I might just be restful and, not having very outward energy with what I'm doing and what I'm saying. And that naturally gets perceived as lack of confidence. I think that's maybe controversial to say because it's a stereotype that us as introverts have been trying to battle for decades and maybe centuries. Stereotypically, we associate extroversion and loudness with confidence and introversion with insecurity. And that is, of course, not true at all, but you have to realize that the way that you're feeling inside might not be the way that you're perceived. And that's very important for leadership because you kind of have to decide what is your priority. Is it that you need to be seen as confident now, in which case you might need to speak up a bit more than maybe you naturally would? Or the thing that I have been really loving and easing into is realizing that I'm playing the long game, and with time, my quiet confidence will be perceived, but it will just take longer than it would for an extrovert to be perceived as confident, and it might not be the default that people resort to. So what I would suggest for you is really don't rush with being perceived a particular way, and trust that if that's what you are inside, if you're genuinely secure as the person that you are, if you're confident in your values, if you have integrity, then it will take time to be perceived as that, but it will happen. It just won't happen as quickly as maybe you would like. Mistake number 3 is over preparing. I think this is something I've also noticed from my personal journey on the corporate side, but also from other people that I have worked with, both internally and clients. And the thing thing that is wrong with over preparing is not the fact that you are preparing, because competence is a huge source of confidence, and I'm a huge advocate for also being very good at what you do and know your subject matter, because there's nothing worse than just seeing someone who's so incredibly loud and so incredibly arrogant but actually doesn't know that much about what they're talking about. So I'm all for preparation. But the thing that can trip up a lot of us introverts is over-preparing, because we don't trust that we have the skill to be a leader without the preparation. I will talk a bit more about this to explain. And I have been the person myself that has always done well in exams. I've always done well in studying. I've grown to really trust my ability to study and get the answer correct if I do. But that has kind of led to me lacking confidence in areas where, even though I might have years of experience, but I don't trust that I can just do the thing without extensive preparation. I don't trust myself. I don't trust my body when it comes to performing. And I was battling with this for a very long time, because the thing that I was struggling with is I needed to have gone over the material so many times until I know that I've prepared to the point where it's in muscle memory and I can just perform it. But what I've been trying to work on, and I'll draw a parallel to corporate work soon, what I've been trying to work on is trusting myself to perform well, even without perfect preparation. And that comes with training, that comes with experience. But I was getting to the point where I was thinking, well, I've been really consistently training in dance for 10 years, and I still don't trust myself to have that skill that it takes to maybe improv, or the skill to navigate a tricky situation where something goes wrong and you just have to make it seem like it didn't. I was very much a control freak sort of person, and I don't know if you relate to that or not, because of course that doesn't apply to introverts as a whole. We're so different. But if you're anything similar to me, then I really struggled with feeling confident where some things are not in my control. The thing that I've been easing into the past couple of years is really trying to trust myself a bit more. So for example, if I'm going into a conversation with someone, and if it's with someone quite senior or someone who is pretty good at what they do and I really want to be in their good books, then what I would be doing before all the time is really extensively preparing, having bullet points, thinking about my experience, almost like preparing for an interview, which I really recommend because it helps you think more strategically about what to talk about your experience, linking different things. But what happens in a situation where maybe you're presented with an opportunity to talk to someone in the moment and you don't have time for preparation? That's when I would panic a little bit and not feel as confident in myself to handle the conversation with the same effect. And what I have learned to do, I think, over the past years is actually be able to do that anyway. Be able to improvise, almost. Improvise in a corporate setting, in a conversation setting. Because what I was proving to myself over and over again is that if I'm in a one-on-one setting with someone, that is the setting that I enjoy the most. I love having a chat with someone. I love getting to know them. I love asking good questions. I also love the individual connection, relationship building that happens, because as an introvert, that is my forte. That's what I'm strong at. If you're an introvert, that's what you're strong at. One-on-one relationships are the most powerful tool that you have in your toolbox. Trust me. And I started to see that I can use this to my advantage, because even if I'm not extensively preparing, I can really be confident that as an introvert, I have what it takes to have a good conversation with someone and probably build a good relationship with them if we click, if we have similar values, and if the things we're trying to do are similar. I don't need to over-prepare. I don't need to compensate for my lack of confidence with being super duper competent, because I can start to trust that I have what it takes. It's already inside you. So it's a balance. It's a balance between preparing, of course, and being good at what you do and knowing your subject matter, but also starting to trust yourself a bit more and seeing that you can navigate impromptu scenarios with the skill set that you've built, with the experience that you've had, and really let go of the belief that if you're not preparing 200%, that you're not worthy of authority or credibility, because I'm sure that you have a lot of experience. I'm sure you have a lot of insights that you've accumulated as an introvert, because that's what we do. We analyze things, we think quite deeply about stuff, we draw different parallels and links. That is more than enough to feel confident where a spontaneous situation arises where you're kind of called to share, you're called to lead, to manage a situation. You do have what it takes. You just need to show it to yourself over and over again to then believe it and really internalize that. Thing number 4 is struggling with visibility. I think to us introverts, visibility is a dirty word, kind of like networking. And the reason is that we probably a lot of the time, if you're similar to me, we really want our high quality work to be enough to be recognized and to move forward in our careers. But what I'm being faced with time and time again, especially through consulting, because it's a brutal industry that's built on visibility, is that visibility is a skill, and you need that skill to be a good leader, more than the technical expertise, more than the high quality work. And of course, those do matter. What matters the most for leadership and being perceived as someone really with authority and someone credible is being visible in the right places at the right times and being known and respected by the right people. So instead of shying away from it, what I personally think that us as introverts need to do, and if you're stepping into your first leadership role, I would highly recommend softening towards visibility and starting to not be defensive about it if you're bad at it, because I was really bad at it. And I think now I'm starting to develop that as a skill because I'm seeing its importance. Instead, try and use your introverted skills, your advantages, your strengths towards building that visibility. So, for example, the thing that might come very naturally to an extroverted person is speaking publicly to a large audience and then being visible at lots of large number of people events and that sort of stuff. As an introvert, your visibility and your kind of interpersonal skill set really lands you towards one-on-one conversations and small group conversations. And that can be just as powerful, because what you can do through big events and public speaking is having reach. It's having good reach. If we're talking about YouTube metrics, it's your video being shown to lots and lots and lots of people. As an introvert, where your skill set, where your expertise lies naturally is engagement and relationship building one-on-one. So once people click through to the video, for example, and they listen through the entire thing, and then they really connect with what you're saying to the point where maybe they get in touch with you, maybe then they book to work with you. This is the introverted bit. That's the bit that you can't get with just reach. You need to have a deeper connection with someone. So what I would really suggest is, as an introvert, use that to your advantage to build visibility and connect with the people who have decision-making powers. Connect with the people who are in your area of work, maybe in your company, who are leaders in their own respective niches, people who have decision-making power when it comes to promotions and direction of the company and strategy. And try to, in a genuine way, connect with them and build that relationship a bit more proactively. That will give you one-on-one visibility. And the thing that will hopefully happen is that if one person has a good relationship with you, and so does another, and so does another, at one point or another, they will mention your name and they will recognize that, oh, this person has actually been doing the relationship building across the firm in the background, and everyone kind of knows, trusts, and likes them. So they're a perfect candidate for X or Y. This is the thing that you need to recognize, is that you don't need to replicate the extroverted visibility to be visible. You can really make visibility your own, and you can make it as introverted as you'd like. So what I've been doing more recently is actually connecting one-on-one much more and having those conversations with people that I enjoy and I am good at, most importantly, to hopefully eventually lead to a situation where that compounds and it leads to a more widespread visibility across the environment that you're in. Before we go into the final number 5, which is the most difficult to master in my opinion, but the most crucial as well, I want to say that I am building an email list, and if you would like to hear more about this introversion, leadership space, and potentially eventually building a community of us to exchange notes and grow together, then I am leaving a link down below to get onto that email list, and I hope to see you there. So thing number 5 that is very hard to master, and I'm on this journey myself, is understanding the difference between being liked and being respected. It's something that I have struggled a lot with because I am a people pleaser by nature. I am really working hard to not lean into that as much as I used to before, and to stay true to myself and keep my integrity and also keep my own values, even if that means that I'm going to be disliked. As introverts, I have realized that we're kind of already being seen as this, I don't know, inferior sibling in the family, because the corporate world and the workplace generally is dominated by extroverts. This is the people that we see in media because they're louder and naturally they get picked more for public things. But also in leadership, I think extroverted qualities get taken as a proxy for a leadership skill set when that's not necessarily the case. But what that means is we're already kind of at a disadvantage. And of course, all of us really want to be liked by others. We want to keep the peace. We want to be very understanding and empathetic, and we have that sensitivity to nuance when it comes to reading someone's body language, understanding how they feel. Importantly, I think those are all great things and great skills to have. I think you should not turn them down. I think you should really, really lean into them. Equally, we have to understand that at some points, us being a good leader will mean that some people will dislike us. And that applies not just to the workplace and to being a leader of a team or a company, but I also think it's being a leader in your own life and really steering it in the direction that you want. Really staying true to yourself ruthlessly and saying no to things that don't feel true to you or don't align with you. It takes a lot of really hard work to understand which voice and which opinion is truly yours and which is an outside opinion that you've internalized over the years to just not be disliked and to stay pleasing to everyone. And if you're a woman, then we suffer from this even more because we're conditioned to be pleasant, we're conditioned to be likable and agreeable and easy to work with. But what you have to realize as an introvert who's stepping into leadership, especially if you're a woman, respect is not always commanded by being liked and pleasant to everyone. In fact, it sometimes and very often is commanded by making difficult decisions that piss off some people, but that feel right for you and right for the team and the company. And it's not always going to be easy to do that. So this starts a whole conversation about people pleasing and how to untangle that if you've been conditioned to people please for your entire life, which as women we are, and how to stop being pleasant for everyone else at the expense of your own opinion and your own value, and also the genuine leadership that you can bring to a company. It's no secret that as soon as we as women make a decision that is a bit difficult for others or a bit unpleasant for others, so they don't love it, we get called difficult and bossy and bitchy and all of those things. Whereas if a man does it, they are praised for being a good leader and very firm and assertive, and it's really seen as them showing their character. We have to really filter through this societal lens that really tries to tone women's leadership down. Whatever we do, we get criticized. If we don't do those things, then we're soft and not leader enough. But then if we do that, then we're horrible. So you can't really win. And because you can't win, I think you should do what will serve you best anyway. Sometimes you will have to be disliked to keep your integrity, but integrity is what gets you respect in the long term. First of all, from yourself. Because you will see that you didn't cave into the people-pleasing stuff that steers you off your path because you're trying to please everyone else except you. So if you can stay true to what you want and not just want what you genuinely believe to be best for the team, the company, for yourself, you will earn self-respect. But also over the long term, I think when people see someone who is likable, who's a people pleaser, who tries to please everyone around them, they might feel like, oh, it's so easy and pleasant to just work with them because they're never problematic, they're never difficult. But if you ask them, oh, who do you see as a leader in your team, in your company, you will never come up. If that is you, if the people pleaser is you, you would just always be in the background as a nice to have team player, but not someone who can actually take a stance and really make their opinion known And it takes making your opinion known to start being seen as a leader. So it's a crucial skill to develop, to try and really listen to yourself. And sometimes you have to say a difficult thing. Sometimes you have to make a difficult decision that will piss people off. Hopefully not all. Hopefully just some. But if it feels like the right decision, if you genuinely believe that that's what is best for the people involved, for yourself, you have to just learn to do it anyway and deal with the consequences of being disliked. And there's this saying that I really enjoy, that your main job in life is to disappoint as many people as possible, to avoid disappointing yourself. And I really believe in that. Because otherwise you're going to get to the end of your life or the end of your career or whatever it is, and none of the decisions and none of the paths that you've taken will feel yours. They'll just feel like you were desperately trying and running around to not upset people. But then what's the point, right? I always feel like the people that I admire the most are the people who stayed very strongly themselves, even in the face of criticism or difficulty or hard decisions. If you can master that, then that will earn you long-term respect and recognition as a leader. And it's a lifetime journey. I am also on it. I will be on it forever, because it takes a very long time to actually get properly good at this. It never is easy, but you just get more used to handling situations like that. And it's kind of like working out. You know, it's not like the weight gets lighter, it's just that you get better at lifting it. If this resonated, I hope that you join my email list, where I will keep you posted when I come up with the next initiative for this community of people who want to be developing their leadership skills and people who are introverted but also very ambitious like me. I hope to see you there. And if you enjoyed this video, I think you will enjoy this one over here. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.